What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Friday, May 10th, 2024, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 14:28 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and also from here in the United States. So we currently have a severe geomagnetic storm watch posted for the entire weekend. And the NOAA here in the US is saying that we could see auroras as far south as Alabama. Okay, so if you have a clear sky this weekend, look to the north and head for some high ground, and you may see an aurora almost anywhere in the United States. They're saying as far south as Alabama. Now, this could cause power and communication interruptions. So make sure you put all your critical electronics in Faraday bags or Faraday cages. So let me just read to you what the NOAA is saying about this. They're saying that this is the first severe geomagnetic storm watch that they've had to post since January of 2005. Okay, so the strongest storm in 20 years. A severe geomagnetic storm is likely, possibly as early as later today and continuing through the weekend. Exact timing remains somewhat uncertain. At least 7 Earth-directed coronal mass ejections are in transit, and they're saying that there will be impacts to high-frequency communication, GPS, power grids, spacecraft, satellite navigation, and other technologies may be affected. Critical infrastructure operators have been notified. Okay, so our critical infrastructure operators, our power companies, are now on max alert for the possibility of power failures. And I'm sure they've probably taken steps to prepare their grids in the event of a power surge. Only 3 severe geomagnetic storms have occurred so far this solar cycle since 2019. The last was a brief occurrence on March 23rd. This is the Space Weather Prediction Center's first G4 watch since 2005. The last extreme event, a G5 event, occurred with the Halloween storms in 2003. Okay, so this is serious, guys. So I'm going to be monitoring the situation, and I will go live if necessary, potentially later on this evening or over the weekend to monitor this situation. We also have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert this afternoon. We currently have 3 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air this afternoon. We have one over the Caribbean, we have one over Oklahoma, and we have one over Kansas. These planes are responsible for communicating with our nuclear-armed submarines, and they can also remotely launch all of our Minuteman III ICBMs, so they're a critical component of our military, probably one of the most important planes in the U.S. military. They are critical for waging nuclear war. And yesterday we had 2 U.S. presidential doomsday planes fly to the doomsday bunker in Colorado. So they took off from Stratcom headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska, and they flew to Colorado Springs and then turned around and went back to Stratcom. So looks like some VIPs were moved from Stratcom to Colorado Springs. That's where Cheyenne Mountain is located. It's a major doomsday bunker for the president and VIPs. And this update was sponsored by Patriot Supply. Guys, Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. and it's all packed within 2 rugged water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1 month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. So here's the flight path of the second one that flew towards the bunker. And then here's the flight path of the first one. Okay, you can see that it actually landed in Colorado Springs and then turned around and went back to Omaha, Nebraska. Then there was a third doomsday plane that was in the air yesterday. It went to Tucson, Arizona. And 2 days ago, we had this U.S. Ohio class sub, the USS Nebraska, which was spotted moving out towards the Pacific from Bangor Kitsap Naval Base, which is where the U.S. has most of their nuclear-armed submarines. Now, what's interesting about this is that this Ohio-class sub was escorted out of the Puget Sound by A-10 Warthogs, and somebody actually emailed me, a subscriber, saying that their father was a retired CW-04 in the Navy, and apparently this person said their father, who was the CW-04, said that it is extremely unusual for the U.S. Navy to escort vessels out to sea inside of our territorial waters in a time of peace. Okay. So this is very, very concerning, guys. Extremely serious situation right now. We also have major breaking news that apparently Russia has entered the Kharkiv Oblast. So looks like Russia is going to attempt to capture Kharkiv. That's one of the last Russian-speaking cities in Ukraine that Russia has not been able to gain control of. We'll have to wait and see if Russia is successful or not. I will share some footage with you guys from that event later on in the video. Russia may change its nuclear weapons use policy to allow for preventative strikes, according to the Russian deputy foreign minister. Russia sees no reason to change its nuclear deterrence policy, but the situation itself is changing and needs constant analysis, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybakov told reporters on Thursday. The doctrine and basics of state policy in the area of nuclear deterrence specifically state the possibilities for the first use of nuclear weapons. At the moment, nothing has changed in this regard, but the situation itself is changing. As a result, the way basic documents in this field relate to the needs of maintaining our security is constantly analyzed. Rybakov answered a question about the possibility of revising Russia's nuclear doctrine to include the possibility of a preventative strike. Moscow has repeatedly officially stated that Russia is taking all necessary measures to guarantee national security, but at the same time is firmly committed to the principle of the inadmissibility of nuclear war. Okay, so this is what TASS is reporting. TASS is a Russian state news. They're saying that Russia may change its nuclear weapons policy to allow for preventative strikes. This is coming from the Russian deputy foreign minister. That is a huge red flag. And Poland is apparently building bunkers and trenches along its borders with Russia and Belarus, according to the Polish defense minister Kosiniak-Kamysz. And he told this to Radio Z, which is a Polish leftist media outlet. And he said this yesterday, asked if Poland should start building bunkers, ditches, and trenches on the borders. Kosiniak said, yes, the entire plan is already being prepared. We are already doing this de facto. I treat this question a little more broadly as a strengthening of the border, he said. So this is very, very serious, guys. Okay, Poland has already started to build bunkers and trenches along their border with Russia and Belarus. Now, what's interesting is this comes just a day after the Polish defense minister, in a tweet, stressed the importance of people having bug out bags. And also, this comes just a few days after it was reported that Latvia started digging anti-tank trenches along their border with Russia. And then this comes just a few days after Latvia started to train hunters in Latvia on combat tactics. And the Latvian Hunters Association, which has 50,000 members, entered into an agreement with the Latvian military that all Latvian hunters trained in combat would come to the aid of the Latvian people if there were an invasion. Also, a few months ago, Estonia announced that they would be building 600 bunkers along their 200-mile border with Russia, which is basically one bunker for every quarter of a mile. And what you're looking at here is the flight path of yet another Russian military cargo plane going to Kaliningrad. This is probably the sixth one in the last 2 or 3 days. So Russia is moving massive amounts of equipment into Kaliningrad, preparing for an attack on the Baltics and Poland simultaneously, while Belarus attacks the Baltics and Poland. Now, Russia and Belarus are currently doing tactical nuclear weapons drills. And in addition to this Russian military cargo plane going to Kaliningrad, we also had this Polish presidential doomsday plane that was scrambled into the air from Warsaw, and it was going back towards Warsaw. So it went up in the air and for some reason was scrambled in the air, and then you can see its destination is Warsaw, and it took off from Warsaw. And this was at the same time as that Russian military plane was going to Kaliningrad. And also, late last night, we had some interesting activity over Poland. First of all, we had this NATO E3 Sentry. That's an AWACS plane. And look where it flew, guys. It flew right along the border of Belarus and Lithuania, right near Vilnius, okay? And then it was looping over northern Poland. But what's even more interesting is at the same time as this NATO AWACS plane was patrolling the border of Lithuania and Belarus, we had another Polish presidential doomsday plane that took off from Warsaw, was supposed to go to Rzeszów, which is the area where all the NATO equipment is flooding in to be delivered to Ukraine. That's the main international airport where all the Ukraine aid goes in. And it was supposed to go there, and then something happened, and it went west towards the city of Wrocław and looked like it was going to land there, and then it didn't, and then it went up to Szczecin in northwest Poland. So I don't know if something spooked the Polish president and they put him on the doomsday plane and he went to Rzeszów, which is where the U.S. Army is located at, and there's a massive NATO presence there. I have no idea, but this is extremely unusual activity here. And here's the tweet from the Polish defense minister talking about the need for a bug out bag. He said, preparedness for crisis situations is not only an obligation, but also our responsibility. A safety backpack may prove crucial in the first hours of unforeseen situations or natural disasters. Okay, very, very serious. And the dictator of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, commented about ongoing tactical nuclear weapons exercises with Russia. He said an escalation is ongoing and that the world is closer than ever to a nuclear disaster. He said, we have no intention of attacking anyone, but everyone should understand that we are good at this, Lukashenko said. Let me just read to you this article from TASS. This is the Russian state media. Russia and Belarus are conducting training drills with tactical nuclear weapons in the wake of the situation unfolding around the two countries, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said. Nuclear weapons are terrifying weapons, but it is a weapon. Therefore, in order to use such weapons, we must train, we must know how to handle them, and escalation is ongoing. What should we do in this situation? We need to keep powder dry, including these lethal weapons, Lukashenko said. According to the Belarusian president, Minsk and Moscow have announced in public about the training drills in the wake of an escalation which first and foremost emanates from Ukraine. Okay? So he's blaming Ukraine for this escalation. So, guys, Russia has a history of using exercises as a cover for an actual strike. Okay? They did this before they invaded Ukraine. They moved a bunch of troops to the border of Ukraine a year before they invaded. They said they were doing a big exercise, and I actually covered it live. Some of you guys may remember that. That's when I was still in New York. I told you guys we were on the verge of World War III when Russia was doing these exercises, and they moved like 150,000 troops to the border of Ukraine, and then nothing happened. And then a year later, they ended up invading. Well, now they're doing the same thing. Okay, these so-called exercises are actually just bringing up the tactical nukes to a ready position. Okay, so they're loading the nuclear armed missiles onto their Iskander launchers. Okay, they're loading the nuclear warheads onto the missiles and onto the delivery systems. Okay, and they're calling it an exercise, but it's basically putting their tactical nuclear weapons on high alert. So this could mean one of two things. Number one, it could be a threat to the West and basically telling the West we have our tactical nukes armed and ready to fire. And if you try to intervene in something or you try to do something such as sending troops into Ukraine, or if you, let's say, attack Belarus or something like that, then we're going to respond with these tactical nukes. Or it could mean that Putin is getting ready to use tactical nukes against Ukraine. Okay, that's one of two things. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that there will be a massive escalation in the coming weeks. And Russia already invaded the Kharkiv Oblast overnight last night, and that's just the beginning. Those are just reconnaissance attacks that are ongoing right now in Kharkiv that started last night, but they're going to commit the entire force and they're going to try to take Kharkiv, okay, which would be a huge win for Russia. Kharkiv is where they actually produced T-72 tanks during the Soviet Union. So for Putin to realize his dream of reestablishing the USSR, he's got to take Kharkiv back, and then he's also got to take the Baltics back, okay? So look for those two areas, the Baltics and Kharkiv, potentially Poland could be attacked. Let me continue reading here about what Lukashenko said about these so-called exercises. However, the escalation is not only in Ukraine, as the Middle East is already on fire with Iran nearby and further on into the Pacific region, Lukashenko added, assuming that the world is closer than ever to a nuclear disaster. These are weapons of deterrence, as they say, but you should realize that we, Belarus and Russia, have them exceptionally as the weapons of deterrence, the president said. Lukashenko is convinced that Belarus and Russia want peace. We do not want to go to war and do not want Ukraine to be a springboard for attack, and you believe only on Russia. There will be nothing left of us. That is why we are together with Russia, not only because we are du jour allies, he said, adding that Belarus has also aircraft capable of carrying nuclear warheads, trained pilots, and Iskander missiles. We tell them keep calm as we have everything needed, he said. Lukashenko recalled that it was his initiative to hold a joint training drill with tactical nuclear weapons. As for us, the Belarusians, it was my initiative. Putin said about this, and I called him. Look, we have to get synchronized in this manner, he said. There was one goal to see how a leading nuclear power does this. We are learning. Belarus is joining the exercise in the second stage, while the results of the training drills will be summarized after the third stage, the president said. We have no intention of attacking anyone, but everyone should understand that we are good at this. It was previously reported that the general staffs of Belarus and Russia were conducting drills for the joint regional grouping of forces to practice the use of non-strategic nuclear weapons for the first time. Okay, so the generals of Belarus and Russia are also participating in this. And Russia entered the Kharkiv Oblast last night. Fighting of various intensity is underway, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And there's mass evacuations underway in the northern part of the Kharkiv Oblast. Apparently, the villages of Vovchansk and surrounding areas are being evacuated, and locals are saying that they have never seen such shelling before. So apparently it's really dangerous in Vovchansk right now. Since 3 in the morning, they have been shelled with cabs, artillery, and from MLRS, said the head of the Vovchansk City Military Administration. Military media reports that the invaders launched massive artillery and airstrikes across the entire north of the region. Here we have a video of this, guys. Check this out. Okay, this is the Russians launching grads towards Kharkiv. And actually, if you look closely, it's not just this one launcher, but there's another launcher back over here closer to the horizon. So it looks like they had multiple grad launchers lined up in a line, and they were all just launching them. I mean, probably thousands of rockets going towards this area. I mean, this is just absolutely barbaric that they would just shell, cities and towns, with civilians. I mean, these are unguided rockets, guys. These are indirect fire. Indirect fire means you cannot guide the rockets. You're just launching them at a general area, and you're trying to cause chaos and hopefully inflict damage on the enemy by launching so many of these. But they're launching these at villages and towns full of civilians, guys. This is biblical. Okay, this is biblical, what's going on here. There's a third launcher right there. So it looks like 3 launchers in this one video clip. And it looks like they started their attack either at sunset or sunrise. It's hard to tell. I don't know which direction this is pointing to. So my guess is that this was at sunset, and this was Russia's kickoff of their offensive, which they kicked off right after Victory Day ended. Okay.
Нихуя пошло. О, сзади тоже заебал, сзади тоже.
And if anybody out there is questioning the legitimacy of this video, this is a video that was filmed by a Russian soldier, and it was uploaded to Telegram, and it's been spreading around Telegram and now Twitter. Okay, so this is a legitimate video. This is historic, guys. Okay, this is the kickoff of Russia's offensive. Okay, this is the beginning of Russia's offensive this year. And I think this is going to be the offensive that changes the dynamic and the direction of the war.
Нихуя пошло. Вон сзади тоже, смотри, вон сзади тоже.
So literally in a 40-second clip, probably hundreds of rockets being launched. I mean, imagine how many they actually launched, probably thousands. And let me show you on the map where this is taking place. So here we have the city of Kharkiv. Here we have the Russian border. And so they entered in this area here. Looks like they've taken control of these villages, Borisivka, Pilna, and Strelecha. And they were shelling Vovchansk from there. Okay, so they're right on the outskirts of Kharkiv. Kharkiv is a huge city. And I want to remind you guys that Russia doesn't actually have to enter Kharkiv and try to go door to door. They can just surround the whole city and choke it off. And eventually that will force the residents of Kharkiv to leave, which is what Russia is trying to do. Here's Vovchansk, okay? So they were shelling this village here from here. Looks like they also took this area as well, Pletanivka. Okay, so they're moving in, guys. They're moving in. And also, I'm hearing that there's a massive grouping of troops right here in the Sumy region. Okay, so they could enter in from the north here and come down through Sumy and go down to Poltava and then cut off Kharkiv from the rest of Ukraine. Okay, and very interesting development yesterday. We had this news come out that the president of Ukraine dismissed the former Supreme General of Ukraine, Zaluzny, from any kind of military service, apparently on grounds of bad health. Okay, very interesting. So I don't know if this is legit or not. I don't know if Zelensky's trying to eliminate any competition, because a lot of people were saying that Zaluzny could potentially run for president. I don't know. And the Egyptian foreign minister said that the Israeli operation in Rafah will result in catastrophic humanitarian repercussions and consequences that will affect the stability of the region. I want to just show you guys some flight paths from Asia. So last night we had another combat sent plane go up to the Yellow Sea, and at the same time we had a rivet joint patrolling the southern part of the Taiwan Strait. Rivet joints are reconnaissance and intelligence gathering planes. Combat Scent is the same type of plane. However, it specifically focuses on radar emissions and radio signals. And there's only 2 of these planes in the U.S. Air Force inventory, and they send their information directly to the president and our top generals. So if one of these planes is airborne somewhere, it means something is going on in that area. And this is the second day in a row that this plane was in the Yellow Sea. So something is brewing in the Yellow Sea in the Korean Peninsula. We also had this Cobra Ball, which is a missile detector plane, fly out of Okinawa to the east of Japan, and it had its transponder off, and then it turned around and came back to Okinawa. So I don't know if they were keeping an eye on a potential North Korean missile test. Maybe that's why the combat scent is up here in the Yellow Sea. I'm not too sure. Okay, but something's brewing in Asia. We also had this reconnaissance plane with no flight information doing hundreds of loops here near Seoul, near the border of North Korea. And Hungary is cozying up to China. This was reported by TASS, the Russian state media. Hungary views China as pillar of a multipolar world. The Hungarian prime minister recalled that Hungary has always adhered to the one China principle. Okay, so there's Viktor Orban. Hungary believes that China is a pillar of the multipolar world that has shaped in recent decades. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban told reporters after his talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Budapest. Orban pointed out that the world had recently undergone serious transformations and the world order had changed to become multipolar. Now that we have a multipolar world, and the pillar of this multipolar world is the People's Republic of China, it plays a pivotal role in global politics and economy, Orban said. Speaking about good relations between the countries, Orban recalled that Hungary has always adhered to the one China principle. And if you don't know what that is, that's basically meaning that Taiwan is a part of China. And Hungarian-Chinese relations have seen a constant, unbreakable friendship through decades, the prime minister said. Orban is convinced that neither Hungary nor China would ever become adversaries. The prime minister also touched upon the mutually beneficial economic ties, growing investment and trade between the two countries, which resulted in tens of thousands of new jobs in Hungary. According to Hungarian government calculations, Chinese investment in the country's economy now exceeds 16 billion euros. So absolutely insane, guys. Viktor Orban showing his true communist colors. And here we have some video footage of U.S. F-18 Super Hornets flying over Guyana's capital, Georgetown, in a show of force to Venezuela, after Venezuela threatened to invade Guyana and take the entire western half of the country. So this is huge news, guys. We now have U.S. Navy F-18s flying over the capital of Guyana. So that's the latest news that I have. I will be back later on this evening with more breaking news. I may go live. We'll see what happens with this solar storm, and I'll keep you guys updated if anything crazy happens in Ukraine and in the Baltics. But I am very concerned that Russia and Belarus are going to attack the Baltics and potentially attack Poland as well. Okay, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. Also, check out my Telegram. I post all these updates to my Telegram. So if you're subscribed to my Telegram, you'll never miss an update. All of my updates are posted right there. Very convenient for you to be able to just scroll through and catch up on all my updates. So until later on this evening, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.